we should probably just kick it off. And eventually I hope to have like some cool little intros for different segments that we do, but we don't have that yet. So we're going to start things right off. I say we go into the indie spotlight. And do you want to set this up, Tyson, or would you like me to?
Well, I can tell you the title.
I'm putting you on the spot.
And that's okay. That's part of this format. So what I can tell you is that the indie film that Joel and I will be covering this afternoon, I had to look at my watch. The title of the indie film is The Grove. So Joel, would you like to explain to the fine folks what The Grove is and how it came to be?
I will. I think even better than that, Tyson. What I am going to do is, why don't we watch the trailer together? You, me, and our wonderful audience that is hopefully viewing this. I will hit play and we will watch the short. It's a fairly short trailer for The Grove.
A few weeks, actually a few days before she, I remember she went into her house and I heard a song.
I got a text from her on the day before she died.
I need to get rid of this box!
It said, make the music stop, whatever the hell that means.
No. I'm done with the supernatural shit. F this, I'm out.
I need to get rid of this box! I need to get rid of this box!
I just want answers. That's all I'm looking for.
All right. Hopefully I unmuted us correctly. So that is the trailer for The Grove. Obviously, it is a found footage film. As we record this is actually on June 9th, 2023. This is its premiere date on POV Horror. You saw the little icon at the beginning there. POV Horror is a streaming service owned, operated, and is the brainchild of a guy who is fantastic. I've had him on Retro Movie Geek, Michael Steinberg. He also is known as the found footage critic. He was on HMP back in 2018. Great guy, and he's doing really cool things with some streaming, and especially as it relates to horror. So definitely recommend all that. And obviously, Tyson, it goes without saying, I'm sure we'll have links to all that in the description of this video.
Absolutely.
And he thought I'd be interested in The Grove because of a couple things. One, he knows that I'm a big fan of like regional kind of DIY horror, and he basically said what is kind of interesting about it as well is the fact that it was done by a school called Futures Explored. And I don't want to mess up what their thing says, but they have a film and media program, and it's a vocational program designed to provide working knowledge of film production and then build upon those skills with a continuing studio participation. They go into like what the curriculum is, and specifically, it is a group that is meant for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So everybody involved in this movie was a student at this school. I believe that the teacher, I guess I'm calling him the main teacher. I don't know if that's his actual title, and I apologize, I don't have his name in front of me. But he oversees the program, but everybody else, if I'm understanding it right, all the actors, the production crew, everybody else are students at this school, which is really cool to me. And I will say the thing about it is And I've seen my fair share of like really low budget indie stuff, student made stuff. And I am always very, 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 very loath to be critical in that like I don't compare what somebody's doing at like, that, at one level to like, oh, well, it's not like the latest blah, 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 big studio corporate movie. However, that being said, these days I actually find myself preferring the really like no budget, low budget stuff to some of the heartless, soulless corporate crap we get. But that aside, put that aside for a second. As it just I'm very loath because you and I have talked about this off this show and just as in our friendship, as a indie filmmaker myself from back in the day, I know how hard it is. It's hard to make anything, whether it's perceived as others as good or bad. You as the storyteller, it's very difficult to detach yourself and see it in anything other than like through a very critical lens. All that being said, I sincerely feel like having we watched this movie. I got a screener. I know you got a screener, and you watched it as well. And we'll get your thoughts here in a second. It's about 46 minutes long. I watched it with my kids. I remember when I saw the trailer first, I thought, wow, actually this is, and mainly because I thought it was it's going to be like a student film. And also I didn't necessarily know the age of the students involved. And I taught video productions to middle school kids and they were fantastic, but they're kids and they're learning. And so you're going to do all kinds of stuff. But I just thought the level of professionalism on display on the production side of things was impressive. I immediately noticed from the trailer that the performances had something that one of my beefs with a lot of found footage films I've seen, and I've seen nowhere near as many as Michael has seen. Like he has seen way more, and there's other people that are much bigger fans of the subgenre. I like the subgenre, but I'm much more selective. Like I don't just anything comes out found footage, I watch it. I'm selective, but I love Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch and all the usual ones. But what I really dug about this movie is the fact that there is a truth and an authenticity, not to get all like hoity-toity pretentious, to the performances, especially Larry, the main guy.
Yes.
I was like, whoa, dude, like it was really good. I mean, I'm sincerely pleasantly surprised at how engaging this movie was.
I feel 100% exactly like you do. And the first reaction that I had after watching this was I have seen far worse found footage films from far more prestigious filmmakers.
Sure.
And 100% agree with you. And that I think that's the thing that came out was the heart and the passion that everybody involved with this had. And, you talk about the reason you love this particular subgenre, or one of the many reasons, is that independent spirit and that local. I feel like one of the things that really came through is these guys used what they had. I don't know the full backstory of this. I mean, it was filmed in a hotel. That's not exactly a spoiler, but I just got this sense of how much fun that was, where these guys probably had access to this very cool old hotel and then wrote a compelling story around that. And how many times have we said, if you have those two things, if you have access to the locations and you have a good story, I mean, you're ahead of the curve, right there. And yes, to your point, I feel like that the actors and the folks that were involved, I just got the impression everybody gave 110%. I don't feel like anybody phoned this in, and I have a lot of respect for that. So I enjoyed this as well. And I feel like, especially when it comes to found footage films, like, man, 46 minutes, talk about a sweet spot. Like, I feel like the link was perfect.
It was perfect. Yeah. Because I think if they had tried to pad it so that they could get it to 70 or 80 minutes, it would have probably had some real drag spots, because it's very much like a talking head oriented, especially the first part, because they're setting up the mystery and these characters' relationships and all that kind of stuff. So it definitely had a lot of that, but for 46 minutes, it worked. Like it did. I didn't feel bored. I actually watched this with all three of my kids, and they range in age, just to give a demographic idea, 13 to 16. So, and they've seen some horror, but it's funny. And I've mentioned this on other shows. They get more freaked out by subtlety and like supernatural, like, hints of things than they do about like straight up gore and like, like that kind of thing. Like they've seen some pretty gory horror flicks from the 80s and they love it. They love the effects, but they get how it's all done. So they just enjoy it from that perspective. But this and movies like this, I think, can freak them out. They actually jump twice. There's a few different jump scares in this, and there's two of them.
Too. Yeah.
One of them specifically got everybody. It was actually really good, and it has kind of a humorous payoff. And that's the other thing is there's actually humor in this that I thought worked well. You saw part of it in the trailer, which is totally the reaction I think most people would have in a similar situation, which is cool.
Yeah, it's finally. It's finally where you applaud somebody for reacting the way 99% of the rest.
Why would you stay here? Exactly. So yeah, I mean, honestly, man, I don't really have any like negative things to say. I mean, yeah, it's very low budget. It's a student film, but it feels well produced, and the pacing was really good.
The caveat is, and this should apply to any film that we cover on this channel, is that it's not going to be for everybody.
Of course,
you know what I mean.
Of course,
I mean, there's going to be people that are looking to say, "Oh my God, this is so low budget. I can't." You know, when they want a $50 million.
Well, and I would argue, I'm not saying I don't want you here, because I enjoy a good big blockbuster movie when they're well made. But see, I hold them to a different standard, because my thought process is you got that much money that you're blowing on this thing that you probably don't need to. And in my opinion, the more money you have, the more that actually stifles the creativity. But if you're that kind of person, then I would argue maybe like the movies we're going to cover by and large in an indie spotlight section probably wouldn't be for you. I could see the bigger gripe with people who love indie and all that kind of stuff might be of like a slow factor. But again, restating, it's only 46 minutes long. So it feels like it doesn't overstay its welcome. And I will say this, to me, the ending and the payoff, and I don't want to give anything away, I loved where it went. I love that they didn't over-explain stuff at all. Like, they really didn't, but you're not confused. You're not like, well, wait a minute, why is this? It keeps you engaged with the characters. And a lot of that is attributable to Larry, which I believe, I could be wrong, but I think in real life, his real name is Larry, the main actor.
Yes. At the end of the screener anyway, I know they gave you almost like a little behind the scenes.
Yes. And that is worth watching 100%.
Yeah. The other thing too is plot wise, it's felt fairly current, because the vibe I got right off the bat was, it was the true story out in California. What was her name of the Asian woman? Was it Eliza Lamb or something, in the Cecil Hotel?
Oh, okay. Yes. It's like on the hotel.
Remember, she had gone missing, and they found her like in the water.
Spoiler.
You know what I mean? Like, Yeah. I mean, that was a true story, but and that's the other thought I had is like any really good, I mean, even some of the most classic horror films, in the genre, they're based in some true story, be it Psycho or Texas Chainsaw. And it's like, truth is way more horrifying than fiction. And you almost get this vibe that this could have been, the plot of the Grove. This is something that really could have happened, and I think
inspired by an actual true story.
And it was well suited to the found footage sort of medium, because I could see friends and boyfriends and concerned people, almost doing like a documentary style, saying, "Hey, we're trying to figure out what happened to her, so we're going to the location, and this is what we're going to do."
Yeah, there's a sequence.
I found it very inspiring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, we've talked about maybe getting involved in some short films of our own, and like right off the bat, I immediately got to thinking of our area and old hotels and old places that I want to, eventually chat with and say, hey, if you've got a slow weekend or something, could we come in and play around? Because I just get the feeling that's what these folks did to get this done. And the payoff.
It was really cool. It was a cool location for sure. And there's a sequence involving security cameras and like black and white, no sound, and they're trying to figure out what happened to Sarah. And I loved the way that played out. And there was like, it's one of those things where there's some very subtle things that happen. And it's creepy. Like, that's the thing I would say for me, very few movies at this point, because I've seen so many of these, I find scary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really, but there are movies that creep me out and moments that creep me out. This movie had at least 2 to 3 moments that legit I found creepy. The security camera, there's something that happens. At the very, well, I'm not gonna say what, the very, very end, literally the final shot. You know what I'm talking about? There's a final shot when we get the credits and all that is subtle but creepy. Like, there's something about it creepy. So yeah, I really, dude, I would recommend The Grove. Go to POV Horror, help support indie horror, help support indie filmmakers. These people are doing good stuff. I want to show their website real quick.
And I was going to say we'll definitely link Futures Explored in the description below as well, so that folks can follow them and support what they're doing, because it's a very, very cool project.
Yeah, and if you go into, they talk about their mission, and they have a bunch of information. They have like the different programs that they offer up. They have, like, if you go to Film and Media, it shows you. They actually have, if you're in that area, I think it's in California. I don't remember exactly what. Oh, here we go. Livermore.
I think Sacramento. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I saw Sacramento. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't remember. I remember seeing Sacramento in the movie, but here
I'm reading it. I'm reading it now. They're in the center, Joe, located in Livermore, Sacramento, and Stockton.
There you go. Like we are not Californians. So I know Sacramento, but not familiar with Livermore. But now I know. And so yeah, they have a film camp. So that's pretty cool. But what also is cool, they have a donation. So they are a nonprofit,
right,
from my understanding. And, obviously you can help them out. And if you're so inclined to donate to them. But I think probably one of the best ways you could would be to check out this movie, go to POV Horror and check out what they are offering there as well. Because honestly, Michael is setting up some really cool stuff he's got a bunch of different streaming channels, some that are not horror related at all, but he does a lot of and some of it's very niched down, however you want to say it. And definitely worth checking all of that stuff out 100%. So yeah, recommend the Grove. And it sounds like you would as well.
Yes, most definitely. And just to recap, Joel, so as of today, where specifically can folks find this again?
They could go to POV Horror. It's either .com or .net. It'll be look in the description if you're watching, because it's not a live stream, so not an official one. I'm almost positive. I feel like it's .net, but maybe I'm wrong. It may be POV.horror.com, and I don't want to misstate it. So yeah, it'll be confirm. One of those in the link below. Definitely go check it out. And if you go there, and I would assume if you go there, I know it is a subscription service. It's a reasonable price. I think he may offer like a trial as well. So, you could check it out that way. I do not know if it's going to be available through like other sources like Amazon, blah, blah, blah. But I do know POV Horror would be the way to go. That would be how I'd recommend you to go anyway, just to support Michael and the work he's trying to do. Because it's really cool. If you're an indie filmmaker and you happen to be watching this, I know he's always looking for great content for his various channels and whatnot. So he'd definitely be somebody you want to reach out to as well.
Yeah, absolutely.